long. Okay, so we are talking today at Cove Bar about 4 ways that your wedding is kind of like Disneyland. And the first reason is that your wedding, you need to remember that your wedding is a new experience for guests.
Yes.
And you might be super familiar with your wedding, but your guests aren't.
Right.
And they don't know your venue, and they don't know your budget, and they don't know your struggles. And that's something to remember when you're planning and you're talking with your guests.
Yeah.
Is that they don't know your wedding as well as you do, and also they're not going to know what they're missing. So if you are struggling with cutting something like a photo booth or a favor or something, like they're not going to know. So don't stress about it too much. Do you have anything to add to that one, Liz?
Yeah, I just think that it's important, as Mindy said, your guests don't really know anything about your wedding, so you have to make sure that there's certain things that they do know about. So make sure there's definitely enough directions, that you've got enough signage to tell people where to get from point A to point B, that everybody who's sort of going to be assisting with your wedding knows what's going on as far as the bathrooms, knows what's going on as far as the timing, so they aren't running into a bunch of people who are like, I don't know, and are kind of running off. Just make sure that everything's kind of out in the open. So it's good to make sure that, like, your guest table has somebody who's there who can answer questions, that there are people that are somewhat designated, whether or not it's like wait staff or assistant staff, who can help people, and that maybe a couple people like your parents or your wedding party know what's going on, because people are going to ask questions and they don't know. And also, the one thing that people forget is alphabetize your place cards by last name and table, not by first name. Alphabetize your place cards by last name and table. Just make everything as easy as possible. And sometimes it's a little hard, but just kind of think about like experiences you've had in the past and just go from there.
Okay, so the second reason why your wedding is like going to Disneyland is that everything is friggin' expensive, you guys. I know, like, a lot of people complain about the price of Disneyland tickets, and it's supply and demand. We're not going to go there.
Right.
But it's true that water costs, like, $4 a bottle, and when you go to a wedding, your cake is going to cost more than if you just bought a cake at the grocery store, and that's just how it is, and there's really no way you can get around that.
Right.
You can either not go to Disneyland, you can not have a big wedding, like, one or the other. I mean, there's ways around it. You don't have to go to Disneyland. You don't have to have a big wedding. That's fine. But weddings are expensive. Why do you think that like flowers and cakes and stuff are just so expensive for weddings versus any other party?
Well, it's kind of interesting because I was in Bonds the other day, and I think I Instagrammed about it. And I took a picture of this really nice centerpiece that was at Bonds, and it was $50. You're paying for the florist to get the flowers. You're paying for the florist to arrange the flowers in a very nice and gorgeous way. You're paying for delivery. You're paying for labor. You're paying for the cost of the materials. And it's just one of those things that you can't get away from. You can decide who it is who's going to be taking your money. You can always decide how much you're going to pay. But, you're not going to you can't just sort of assume that you're going to get away cheap. So, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's just how it is. It's kind of pricey. What are you going to do about it?
Can I say one more thing about that? Even if you're not talking about a Disneyland wedding, they say that the average, I guess, cost that a wedding guest spends is somewhere between $500 and $1,000, depending on if they have to fly out, if they have to stay at a hotel, getting something to wear, driving to the venue, all of this other stuff, wedding gifts. So just sort of keep that in mind, that, these are regular costs in, I don't know what you call it, non-Disney World, that guests have to spend as well.
Yeah. So guests do have to spend a little something when they're coming to your wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And, keep that in mind. I know that a lot of people get upset if people aren't coming, like, oh, I wish they were coming to our Disneyland wedding, but it's a big expense for some people, so there's just some things you can't control.
Right.
The third reason why weddings are like going to Disneyland is that no matter what you do, some people are always going to be grumpy.
Yes.
Look, it's the happiest place on earth. Your wedding is supposed to be the happiest day of your life.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes people are just going to be grumpy about it because things aren't going their way, or you didn't have the wedding where they wanted you to have the wedding, or they're not serving the food that they wanted served. Like, and sometimes little kids have meltdowns at Disneyland because they're tired, or because the line's too long, or because Mickey went back inside his house because he has to film a movie.
Or because they're 3.
Yeah, so it's just going to happen, and sometimes there's no pleasing some people, and there's not really anything that you can do about it.
Yes. I was just talking to Mindy about this subject. I've been going to Disneyland for a while.
Yeah.
And I have a really good friend of mine from college. She used to say that, Disneyland is the happiest place on earth. Sometimes you can bring a concentrated pocket of unhappiness with you. And it's the truth that in any group of people, there is always going to be at least one concentrated pocket of unhappiness. Eventually they get over it. But, yeah, just sort of keep it in mind. Don't take it too personally.
Yeah. There's just really nothing you can do about it. No matter where you get married, there's always going to be people who are grumpy about it, no matter what.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do?
Nope.
So the fourth and final reason why weddings are like going to Disneyland is that no matter what happens, no matter all the bad stuff, no matter what, it's going to be magical.
Yes.
Everything's going to be magical at the end of the day. Everything is going to be fine. And it's going to be awesome, and you're going to have fun no matter what. So just keep that in mind when you're wedding planning, that at the end of it, you'll be married, if all goes well. You'll be married, and that's really all that matters. It's your happiest day, you're starting your life together, it's the best day ever, and even if someone shows up late, or the flowers don't look exactly the way you wanted, that's okay. Everything's gonna be magical, right, Liz?
Yes, there's gonna be so much love and joy and fun during that day that you can't even imagine right now. And I've been doing this for about 10 years, and you guys are gonna have a great, wonderful, wonderful day, and I'm just really excited for you.
Yeah. So that's it. So we just wanted to come to you live from Disneyland. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for the hearts. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow for my regular Wedding Wednesday chat at 6 p.m. Pacific. I think I'm going to be doing it here at Disneyland, so I'm going to pick one of the wedding venues. Thank you, Tracy. Thanks for joining. I think I'm going to pick one of the wedding venues and broadcast from there. I have a really interesting topic. It has to do with cake, which I know I talked about last week, but I kind of love cake.
You can never talk too much about it.
And so please tune in. Please follow Liz on Periscope at Liz Charm. Her name is in the title. If you liked this, just go ahead and tap the little guy in the corner and share it with your followers and your Twitter followers. And that's it for us. We'll see you later. Tune in tomorrow. Bye!